Welcome back and thanks for joining me. I'm going to be covering the newest Magic the Gathering set, Final Fantasy. We're going to start out with the key set mechanics, the new ones, how they impact the format, how I think they'll define the format, what they're going to do, how you need to play with them, and I'll also be talking about the returning mechanics as well. In addition to this guide, be on the lookout for my pre-release guide where once all of the set is revealed, I will go into more detail with the archetypes, deck building, color strategy, all of that good stuff. You're not going to want to miss that guide as well. They're definitely a pair. In addition to the pre-release guide, I also participate in the streamer event on June 4th. I start at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I exclusively play sealed and draft. It's a great way to ask me questions, see the cards in action. Watching the streamer event is one of the best ways to get prepped for your pre-release, so I highly recommend it. But let's jump into the first new key mechanic, Job Select. I think Job Select is the most impactful new mechanic that is releasing with this set. It's very similar to Formyrden if you played before, but basically Job Select is a new triggered ability found on some of the equipment. When a equipment with Job Select enters, you create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token, then attach the equipment to the new token created. After you've created your 1/1 and the equipment's attached, you can of course move the equipment for the equip cost at any point in the game. If your creature dies, the equipment stays on the board and you can then re-equip for the equip cost to a different creature. The reason why this is a very high impact mechanic is that so far for almost every deck archetype and every build, there is a Job Select card or two or three that really enable the win cons of those decks. It's just really great in almost every build for this set, period. And the added value of having equipment stay on the board later, even though the re-equip cost is pretty expensive, is still value, and I think it'll have a huge impact of how this format plays out. Specifically for the non-creature spells decks, the sacrifice decks, the life gain deck, artifact deck. I think you could argue that green has the least benefit from Job Select, but there's still some for sure. Point is, Job Select, I think it's going to be a great new mechanic. It is an ETB, so it's an ability that's trigger ability that can be copied by some cards in the format. Bounce spells go up quite a bit because, all of a sudden, if there's a lot of tokens that people are creating, a bounce spell becomes a kill spell basically for a creature. Yeah, it's annoying that they're still going to have the equipment, but anytime you see a set where there's a lot of synergies with token creation, I like to push my bounce spells just a little bit higher on my evaluation scale. Moving on to the next biggest new mechanic impact on the format, we have Saga Creatures. We've had Sagas, we've had Creatures. We have never had Saga Creatures before. Saga Creatures follow all the same rules that Sagas do. If you don't know what a Saga does, most important thing you need to know is that Sagas enter with a lore counter on them. This causes the first chapter ability to trigger. As your first main phase begins during each of your turns, you add a lore counter to each Saga you control. This will also happen on your Saga creature. And just like a Saga, when you finish resolving the last chapter ability, you sacrifice the Saga. So in this case, you're going to be sacrificing your Saga creature when you reach the last lore counter and it finishes resolving off of the stack. So these creatures aren't staying around forever. You are going to have to sacrifice them. They do have summoning sickness on the first turn they come in as well, but they can still block and they can attack as long as they're not being sacrificed and don't have summoning sickness. How do you rate these cards? I think that, placing the Sagas in general of their good cards or their bad cards is really difficult to do in this set. I think some are really great. Like, you resolve the spell, you're going to win the game. And then some are okay at best. So the power level of the Sagas really varies greatly. So I can't just tell you, hey, Saga Creatures are great, but I do think they have a high impact on this format and how it'll play out, and the speed and the power level, especially on the top end, with some of the ones that are particularly very good. There's also a few cards that can abuse Sagas by having them stick around a little bit longer or bounce them back to your hand so you can recast them, or even copy trigger abilities from each chapter. So bounce is still looking great. Copying trigger abilities is looking great. I do also want to note one disappointment I have for the Saga Creatures is that it doesn't synergize with the non-creature spell decks. Like, it would almost be better if these were just Sagas. But that's just a personal preference. Let's move on to the next new mechanic. Tiered spells. Tiered is just a modal spell. Each mode includes an additional cost. You choose which mode to cast, and you pay the cost associated with that mode. For example, with Ice Magic, it is 1 and a blue for the spell. If you cast Blizzard, it has 0 extra cost, so you would just pay 1 and a blue. If you cast Blizzara, you're going to pay 3 and a blue because the extra cost is 2. If you want to cast Blizzaga, you need to pay 6 and 2 blues in order to cast the spell. These spells traditionally are quite good in Magic because they're flexible, they are good early, they're good late, they allow you to control how much mana you want to put into them and what they will do best in the game based on the board state for you. So look out for the tiered spells. They'll probably be pretty good. Moving on to returning mechanics that I think are going to have high impacts. Those are the transforming double-faced card, TDFCs. You'll cast the front side. The front side is indicated in the left top corner with the up arrow. Every single TDFC will tell you exactly what conditions need to be met so that you can flip them. If the conditions are met, you flip the card. The flipped card is still the same permanent, so auras, equipment, counters, all that stays. In general, TDFCs tend to be very powerful in limited environments. Some of the best cards I've seen revealed so far are TDFCs. They're good. So, when you see a TDFC, most of the time, they're going to be massively impactful cards, especially if you can flip them. Adventure is returning. We have them on lands. You cast the sorcery or instant side. Card goes to the exile, and then you can play the land out afterwards. You can also just choose to play out the land tapped if it's earlier in the game and you don't want the added value. Extra value on lands is always really strong. We have a run of Landcyclers. You pay 2, you discard the card, you go get the land that is indicated on the card, you put it into your hand. Landcycling is always nice and flexible. If you need mana early game, go ahead and cycle it. If you draw it late game, great, you have a big creature. In addition to Landcycling, we also have just regular cycling. Pay the cycling cost, discard the card, draw a card. Flashback is returning in this set. Flashback is particularly strong when you are doing self-mill or surveil. And in this set in particular, it's very good with the 4 mana spells deck. Flashback allows you to play the card from your graveyard for the flashback cost. After you pay the flashback cost, once that spell leaves the stack, the card will go into exile whether it was countered or it resolved. Flashback in general usually does pretty well. 2 spells, 1 card, good stuff. And that's it for like the main key mechanics that I want to cover. I did see like a kicker card that's going to be quite good. Kind of reminds me of Candy Grapple. But for all the cards that have been revealed so far, that's all I have for now. I will have the pre-release guide once all the cards have been revealed in the set, and that'll go into the details of the archetypes, and we'll cover the colors and the mechanics and the win cons. As always, I appreciate your support, comments, likes, subscribes. Remember, if you have any questions about any of the mechanics, leave them in the comments below. I'll answer them. I look forward to seeing you at the Early Access Streamer event with me. I hope to see you there.